Hello everyone, this is Max. You are watching Equity Match online live pitch event. Today, as always, we have 4 great funders coming from Europe, the US, and Israel. We try to divide not because we want to divide, but just because of time zone. We normally have together Israel, Europe, and US, as we are today. And after we do Asia and we do Impact for Africa. So today, I'm very pleased. We have a new investor guest. I'm starting with introducing our investor guest, which is Taylor Shelley, partner and Foxy Partners and Angel Investors. Taylor, if you want to give an introduction to yourself, please do it.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Max, thank you so much for the time, and thank you, entrepreneurs, for also for your time and everyone in the audience. Quick background about myself. So my name's Taylor Shelley. I'm from the United States, currently residing in Virginia. A little bit of background about myself. I have a really long career. When I say long, a lot of different avenues and experience, starting in management consulting at KPMG, as well as a firm called Slalom. I focus specifically in audit as well as mergers and acquisitions, both on the buy side as well as the integration side. Some mergers that I've worked on in the past were Medtronic and Covidien, as well as Alaska Airlines and Virgin America. Following that, I moved out to the Bay Area and joined as the chief of staff to the CEO at 500 Startups, or now called 500 Global. 500 Global is an early stage venture firm, I think, I believe they have a little bit over $2.5 billion in assets under management. During my tenure there, I invested in a couple hundred startups, as well as got to experience really a crash course on VC, both on the operations side as well as the supporting of founders, both in go-to-market, early operations, and et cetera. During my tenure at 500, I also had the opportunity to sit on the investor relations, more specifically the fundraising side. So also got to help raise their latest Fund 5, in which they're deploying capital out of, which is a $150 million fund. With that experience, I got to also understand the side of the LPs, the individuals who are investing in the fund. So I have a really unique perspective when it comes to that side. Following 500, I wanted to jump into the arena. So I joined a seed stage startup called Neotax as the first business hire. Really built the go-to-market function from the ground up. Some highlights there was grew revenue 50x, launched some strategic partnerships such as Thomson Reuters, and really got to experience kind of what it takes to scale and grow a startup within the landscape. Specifically, we were an early AI startup too, so I have some experience within that. More recently, I left in the back half of last year and started Voxley Partners. And what Voxley Partners is, it's kind of twofold. One, I've been investing in early stage startups for several years now and been in the early stage landscape and wanted to more or less formalize that. So I invest in pre-seed to Series A companies, primarily focusing in B2B software space. When it comes to traction depends on the company as well as the space. But yeah, really excited to speak with visionary founders. And from the fund perspective, I have my own personal fund in which I invest money out of that. I have Syndicate, and then additionally, I scout for several other venture firms. So I always try to keep a pulse within the market. But with that being said, I'm super excited for today's opportunity to hear the great founders. And lastly, I would say if you want to get in touch with me, please reach out to me on LinkedIn. I love to just connect with founders and to build my Rolodex and try to open up doors as I can.
Thank you so much, Taylor. Very much thank you for your time today. Before moving to our first funder, everyone wants to come and pitch. Just send an email to pitch@equitymatch.com. We go live and streaming. We are streaming live now on YouTube, LinkedIn, and Facebook. You can find this pitch event today after live on our YouTube channel, as all the previous 91. Today is 92. And lastly, any question you want to raise, to it, and we bring them to the funders. So I'm moving to funder number 1, so I'm not going to spend any more time talking. Yakov Becker, CEO of EnlightMe. EnlightMe is headquartered in Tel Aviv, Israel. Education is the sector. It's a pre-seed round of 500K in USD. How's it going, Yakov?
Yeah, it's great. How are you?
Oh, good. Thank you so much for coming. So if you want to give a short intro to yourself and going straight to pitch, and Taylor will follow up with Q&A. Thank you.
Yeah, great. So my name is Yakov Becker. I am founder and CEO of EnlightMe. EnlightMe actually is my second startup. My first startup was in the field of fintech, but now I'm back to my true love, which is AI, and applying AI to real world problems. Like I in particular love learning, corporate learning, and employees growth. So we are EnlightMe. We are in the middle of micro learning revolution. So let's go. So what problem do we solve? So we all know the importance of continuous learning and being updated in our professional field. So, and we also want our employees to do so, right? And we want also to cultivate and develop a continuous learning culture because we understand how much it is important for our business goals. But let's see, we are living in a world of information overload. It is hard to allocate time for learning. For example, I am subscribed to many very good newsletters, but during the day I see, let's say, great newsletter article, and I want to read it, but I don't have time. And then I promise myself, okay, I will read it in the evening. But of course, in the evening, I have 3 kids and a dog, and I cannot read it. So next day I see it again and I delete it. I think you all do it every day. So it is hard to be updated and stay current and learn every day and maintain continuous learning. So what is our solution? So in EnlightMe, we leverage AI to develop micro-learning content in the form of audio digest, you can say podcasts, and by this assuring continuous employer development. It is micro-learning at its best. It's bite-sized in size information. So where we take this information, this content, we automatically search it on the internet and provide this information in the form of easy digestible content that you can consume during commute on when you walk your dog. And also we allow companies to take their internal content and create this podcast, this audio digest, small 5-minute digest. And so they can use it for micro learning or other purposes. So this is our product. So our product is very similar to the typical Spotify or your Apple podcast application, but of course with a critical difference. Like we support hundreds of topics, like if you want the latest news on AI, or you want to learn AI, or you want news on crypto, or you want DevOps or whatever in your professional field, you can find it in our app. We also, again, allow companies to upload like CEO speeches or HR information to our platform. Our market. So the podcast market, global podcast market, is growing every year because probably people like to listen to podcasts. They want to listen and they enjoy getting new information and ideas from podcasts. The corporate micro-learning is also growing. It's already a big market, but it continues to grow in very fast pace. We want to concentrate on stuff we really have a good understanding in, like it's IT, biotech companies, and in English-speaking markets. And while it's only $40 million market, we think still is sufficient for our first years. So where we are, we have developed the first version of our product. You can just go to Apple Store or Google Play, type EnlightMe.ai, download the app, and enjoy our podcasts. And choose whatever you want, and you will get your personalized podcast. So we have corporate clients, 4 corporate clients on our platform, and many private clients, and we plan till the end of the August to get to the 30K monthly revenue. We employ B2B2C business model. We sell to companies and they distribute it to their employees. We expect 2,000 per month average check from the companies. Of course, there is a competition because there is a huge need of being updated and stay current and continuously learn. So there is companies like Google with Google News and Feedly and Medium and Udemy and you name it. But nobody actually does it as we do. It's so easily provided when you can enjoy it in your idle time. And also you can add internal information into it. We are looking for 400K to cover our expenses this year. Our team consists of myself and my co-founder, Oleg. We are both C-level executives for the last 15 years, so we share a very good understanding of the corporate learning needs. And at my 5 minutes come to the end, so thank you very much. I will be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you so much, Yakov. Taylor, I leave Yakov all to you.
Awesome. Well, Yakov, thank you so much for the presentation and also, yeah, super interesting idea and concept, and congrats on everything that you built today. I guess, could you dive a little bit deeper into the product experience? Specifically, how are you curating content for individuals? I know you said you're scouring the web, internal, whether it's an organization pulling from internal documentation. How are you curating content in the application personalized to that specific user?
Yeah, so we start with a simple thing, like you can upload your the URL to your LinkedIn profile. So we read it, and we use, of course, LLMs. So we can ask LLM, okay, this is the person, give us the filter or classify the information or content that this person might want to listen, and then we allow you to speak with the platform and tell, yeah, you like this one, this podcast, you dislike it, you want to learn something else, you want to learn more about something on this topic, you don't want this topic, and this constantly adapting our content to your needs.
Gotcha. So one of the other thoughts, when it comes to AI, there's a lot of, like, obviously it's like the cutting edge, or I guess new cutting edge of technology that's been around for quite some time. But one of the areas is the proprietary data set and the AI moat that the company is building. Can you speak a little bit more around how you view the kind of AI moat that your team is building based on this content you're receiving? Yeah, I'll stop there to see.
Yeah, so we believe that the latest advances in LLM and machine learning provide us a lot very interesting tools that without it wasn't possible like a year ago. But we need to combine it with our proprietary algorithms, because there are many things that, let's say, ChatGPT, let's call it ChatGPT, just cannot do. For example, it cannot separate with good content and bad content. You can give it like something very shallow and something very, really good. It cannot separate between these two things. So you need to develop additional stuff on top of it in order to overcome this problem.
Gotcha. Transitioning over to the go-to-market approach, can you explain kind of what's your go-to-market strategy been to date, and kind of how you see that going long-term, or I guess to the next phase?
Yeah, so our first approach is just to go to the companies size, not so small, not so large, like 200, 300 people, and provide them with the product. For example, we went to the one biotech company. It is very interesting experience. Apparently, they need to convert scientific articles into podcasts, because the researchers want their researchers to go through it, but they don't have time, and they don't need all the details, but they need to listen to the main parts. And we have one edtech company with similar needs, I mean, in their area. So we go companies and sell them our common topics and their proprietary ones. And going forward, we want to go through resellers like that already works with the companies like educational ones, LMS and others. And we also see segments we can call it B2C markets, like doctors. We have very interesting experience with radiologists, which apparently read like 5 articles every week, and they again don't have time, and they enjoy our podcast on these articles because they save time. They drive and listen, and it's enough for them because they need only abstract. They don't need everything else. So we have several approaches, and actually we are actively looking for the market fit, exact one that we did.
Yeah, I always like to provide a little bit of value versus peppering the entrepreneur with questions. So one of the areas that you may want to look into is that so CPAs in the States need to continue professional education. They need to have so many hours in order to have to retain their certification, right? And so there's podcasts now that allow for CPAs to listen to podcasts to get these CPE credits. So that's something interesting there. And also lawyers have something called CLEs, continued legal education. And then there's also that opportunity. And I know a number of lawyers as well as CPAs that are sick of listening to awful webinars talking about super dry topics, right? In which I'm assuming that they would much rather have a more engaged experience. I know at KPMG, for example, there's an entire educational arm of KPMG in order to provide their accountants with CPE credits that make it much easier. So this is something that I think could solve for that solution there too as well.
Yeah, to summarize, like first of all, thanks a lot for these tips and a really good one and interesting. And the second, we really able to build huge amount of podcast episodes in a day, okay, which is impossible to do in a studio. So we can, it is just much cheaper way to do, and the quality is fine. It's the current quality of the audio is very close to the regular human voice. So
yeah, absolutely. Last question that I have is when you think of the long-term vision for the company, I know there's you're still kind of crafting the story, but what is your vision for microlearning and specifically for EnlightMe?
Yeah, so our long-term vision that we might become a personal assistant in your journey or in continuous learning, because we as professionals we need continuously learn, and we can become your assistant, your AI assistant in this journey. So whatever you want to learn, you can find it in our app, and because you as professional you can allocate like 15 minutes, 10 minutes a day, and you don't have you don't want to go to courses, you don't have time for conference too much. So you want to become your personal assistant in the learning journey.
Awesome. Perfect. Well, thank you so much for your time and appreciate the presentation.
Thank you, Taylor.
Thank you, Yakov. Thank you, Taylor. Yakov, stay. Don't go, because we are all back soon. Meanwhile, I'll move it off. The second founder, Christian Wittmer, CEO and CFO of Naked. Headquartered in Zurich, Switzerland, information technology, seed around 100K in USD. How's it going, Christian?
Very good. Thank you very much, Max. Hi, Taylor.
As you know, please go over the 30 seconds introduction, and after pitch, Taylor will follow up. Thank you.
Thank you very much. My name is Chris. I'm the co-founder of Naked. I founded the company together with my awesome co-founder, Kelly. And my background is in business, and Kelly is the CEO of the company, and her background is more on the tech side. And yeah, let's start. Let's take you on a journey. Here we go. Let me take you on a journey to $1 trillion revolution in e-commerce, and I'll show you just how we are going to do that. The opportunity is quite simple. The fashion industry goes digital and lacks the tools to do it. So Gen Z and younger generations spend an increasing time in virtual worlds like video games and metaverses, and they spend a lot of money on fashion and cosmetic items. The fashion spending is over 200 billion already, and they spend over 50 billion online for cosmetic items. This is the opportunity we're looking at today. What is the problem with that? Fashion is not reaching the Gen Z and the younger generation because they don't engage right. And also the digital realm offers an untapped possibility to collect data. For example, imagine you are a brand like Gucci. You know exactly what your customers buy at your stores, but you have no clue on what they buy in other stores. We can give you that data. That's what Naked is all about. It's data in the digital realm. What is the Naked solution? The Naked solution is we have a automated AI process when we create 3D items of existing fashion collections. What you see here is a test run we did with Alexander McQueen. You see the normal coat, and we did a 3D model out of that coat. We take a product or an SKU and create an interoperable format for all digital environments. Then we add metadata for traceability, so we can trace that object through all different metaverses and video games. What is the Naked USB? What is the differentiator from Naked from other companies in that realm? We're the only company that integrates the metadata for tracking and data analysis right into the item itself. This enables us to gather data across different platforms, and we can place your item in every single environment simultaneously. Can it be a AAA video game, a mobile game, a metaverse, or an online store, you name it, we are completely platform agnostic. This is a pilot project we did with Lulu Guinness in London. We developed a 3D item of their lip bag for their online store to replace photo shoots and slash the costs of that by 80%. The next integration of into virtual worlds is the next step of this project, and we are very curious to see what we're going to do with that. So how is our business model working? Naked basically has two kind of clients. On the main side is the fashion brand. They pay a one-off for creating the digital item and the distribution of the digital item. And on the other hand, we go through a subscription model for them to get the recurring data and for us to get some recurring revenues. On the other hand is the game or the video game or the metaverse, and they almost got free content from us. They have a very favorable revenue share, and they're very happy to get content they can sell to their end users. What is traction and pipeline? We are about 6 months in the public now. Everything was self-funded until now. We already got a massive online platform with over 1 million daily users and some big fashion brands like Alexander McQueen and Lulu Guinness and IWC. So imagine what we could do if we get funded. So the proposition here for an investor is we're bootstrapped until now. So it's our first seed round or pre-seed round for 800K. We should get us through 12 months or longer with this 800. It will spend on salary for the team, growing the team, on AI automation for the entire process, and also for marketing and business development to get some new clients. Now about the team, as already said, my co-founder is Kelly. She has 30 years in video games and virtual items. I have founded and exited several startups and sold my last startup to the Will Smith family office. We have an awesome group of advisors. Some are from Richmond, some are from Net-a-Porter, some are from the video games industry and the data industry. And we think we have a really cool team together that can take that to the next level. So with no further ado, thank you very much for having us today. And if you are keen to reach out to Callie or to me or through our website. We're also on LinkedIn. Thank you very much for having us.
Thank you so much, Chris. Taylor.
Yeah, absolutely. Chris, thank you for the presentation. Super interesting approach. I'm a huge fan of, in general, Trojan horses, right? The way I view this product is that your fashion brands are not as connected to the Gen Z audience as they possibly could, just based on their buying habits and buying behaviors. However, if you meet them where they are, which is in video games, the metaverse, and understand their buying and purchasing behaviors, you can potentially pilot products within the metaverse before actually building garment or real life IRL a product. So I think that's super fascinating and interesting approach to that. Can you talk a little bit about what the actual proprietary technology that you guys are building and developing? So let's just say I'm Nike and I want to release a new shoe. But before I release this new shoe, instead of spending a bunch of money on marketing research that I may do, I'm going to go to you and launch my product in the metaverse. Can you walk me through what that approach would look like today?
Yeah,
today and tomorrow. Sorry.
Yeah, I mean, for new products, it's also an approach. It's definitely going to go there. That except R&D development will be in the digital realm. What we did so far is mostly with existing collection, but it could also work for new developments, obviously. So our technology, what it does is we create a 3D model that's absolutely platform agnostic. And we have an embedded metadata into the product itself, into the object itself, that allows us to trace all the user data across all platforms. That's basically the foundation of our model. For now, because we are very focused on the quality of the item, for now it's a lot of manual work to develop this model, but we are also in the background developing an automated process to create these models. With machine learning involved, like fetching all the right meshes from the internet and putting together the models more automatically. For now, we see that it needs like a manual finish to create the quality we desire, but we expect in the future to be a fully automated process.
Gotcha. Double clicking on that, what would you say is your most defensible mode from a technology product perspective?
I think it's the creation and embedding of the right data and automating of the creation of those models. That would be like the most defendable technology.
Okay. On that note, I know there's been this big push around user privacy, especially when it comes to websites, right? So, for example, the removing of the cookies. I think Google Chrome just announced that they're trying to remove cookies. Apple did a number of things for privacy perspective. I know gaming industry is so fragmented, right? But once you start tracking Gen Zs, right, your children, that's all of a sudden people are up in arms. What is your thought and approach of that risk entering into the gamification, which would then impact the meta data that
on the homepage itself, or browsing the internet, you get very specific, almost traceable to who you really are. That's not what we are tracing. We are tracing more general profile aspects, like social demographic aspects. For the fashion company, something like that's a user in North America, about that age bracket, male, from, I don't know, a middle-class background, and has a preference in those brands. That's what we track. That's the data that we're tracking. That's the data that the fashion labels are interested in. But it does not come down to more personal data or credit data or whatever you like. That's definitely not part of it.
No, okay, no, that's I mean, what you're saying is you're more or less taking in an aggregate view, not a personalized view.
Exactly.
I would assume though over time, right, that personalized view, that personalized information that you could pull from a specific users could be really valuable, in that then you could subsequently target in their everyday life, whether they're picking up TikTok and all of a sudden they're seeing that fashion brand because they purchased that within Fortnite, right? But that's a different world.
I mean,
that's a good problem to have, I guess.
Absolutely. I mean, the future in the future, we see that those items can be interoperable, right? If you use or if you own a T-shirt in Fortnite, you can use it in another video game or in another metaverse, and that's a very interesting road to follow for the midterm, I think.
Yeah. My last question, I see that we're coming up on time, is can you speak a little bit about the interoperability between games, right? I think there's obviously, you have your big games such as like the Fortnites of the world, whether in the Call of Duties, right? And of course, they're inserting other ways to make revenue, and this could be a great opportunity of that. But explain how you could create a product and launch it within Fortnite, launch it within all these other gaming areas and engines, as well as keeping up with the constant updates and changes that are occurring. I'm just not aware of it, and yeah.
I mean, every platform that we partner with, or every platform that we can deliver the product needs to be partnering with us, right? We need to be the partnership agreement with that platform. We cannot in like intrusive ways go into closed environments like a AAA video game. But a lot of the metaverses are open, and we're partnering with a lot of the big video games. And the interoperability is sometimes desired, sometimes it's not desired. But what we do, we can create a copy of an item that works in each environment. Obviously, it's not the same item itself, but it's a copy of that item that you can have in every video game. So like the fashion brand can choose, we want to be in Fortnite, we want to be in that game, we want to be in Decentraland, and then we aggregate the data from all those different virtual worlds.
Awesome. Well, yeah, this is super interesting. Yeah, I like the approach. The last thing I would say is, like, I assume it's like, for example, like Tesla, before they released their Cybertruck, they have created a list of seeing how many people would actually purchase it before they even go to production. So it's something very similar here. Cool. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thanks, Taylor.
Thank you, Chris, Taylor. I moved on to founder. Ștefan Vâju, co-founder of Tabuk, headquartered in Cluj-Napoca, Romania. I hope I pronounced decently well. Education management seed around €500,000. How's it going, Stefan?
Hello. Is Cluj-Napoca the right pronouncing? It's something similar with Silicon Valley, but it's in Romania, within Carpathian Mountains. Massimiliano, thank you for this opportunity, and congratulations for what you are doing, especially for us founders. I know that you are doing free of charge, and it's a big effort, and thank you for that. Taylor, thank you very much for being present with us today. I think it's morning or lunchtime where you are. Okay, and hopefully after this presentation, perhaps you might look a bit different to the education sector. I know that AI and fintech and gaming, all these other realms looks very sexy, but I know education also can look sexy. And hopefully by the end of the day, by the end of the presentation, we'll all share the same feeling. Building the largest library in the world sounds very bold, though I'm certain that by the end of the presentation, what seems almost impossible is not only possible, but also needed. Functional illiteracy. It sound very fancy. It is a big challenge worldwide. It's actually and remains a significant global challenge, and its prevalence varies across countries and regions. And I don't want to get into a very technical explanation of what actually functional illiteracy means, but let's assume, or let's imagine that we have a superpower called reading power, which helps us understand and enjoy all the amazing stories in the books. Now, this functional illiteracy actually is like having a little glitch in your reading power. It means that even though you have learned some reading skills, you might find challenging to use them effectively in your everyday life. In other words, for example, small stories or relevant stories like Pinocchio or Cinderella are wrongly explained or understood by kids or very superficial. The solution is quite trivial. And from a perspective of what, it's very easy. Reading is the solution. And in a nutshell, actually, what we're trying to do with Tabuk is turning reading from a hobby into a habit. The challenge is how we are doing that. And yeah, I put this slide with competition in purpose here because, and I have to admit this image is slightly incorrect because all these tools are competing indeed with reading, but we discovered that it's not very useful and is very costly to compete with these tools. And what we did is we try to take those tools and to innovate their usage in our technology, in our application. So imagine one thing: you go home, you take your mobile. Everybody owns a bigger or a smaller library at home, so you can take your phone and you can scan the entire library and you can index. Once that you have done that, you are now part of a community of readers like you, and then you can start a journey in that community to share experience and to share knowledge and to develop. Also, you have the chance to talk with the books that you like, and we give opportunity to people to create content, relevant content like video insights. The irony in this area is actually people don't know exactly how big market about the books it is. And we can talk about a CAGR of 2-digit, 10 to 12% on a yearly basis. So the book market globally, it's more than 100 billion euro. Our business model, and this is not necessarily the order, is based on B2B and B2C. And it's based on book sales, ads, and subscription base. And subscription base is addressing to final consumer or also B2B channel. Until now, we had some private investment around 200,000 euro. We use, of course, our own funds, but also we had some cloud credits from Google. We had several milestones which we have reached in the past 2 years since we started this project. And now we are seeking for €500,000. The money will be spent on development, some CapEx, and sales and marketing. And on the name and behalf of my colleagues and our team, thank you very much for your attention. And looking forward to answer some questions.
Thank you so much, Stefan. I leave all the questions to Taylor.
Sure, awesome. Well, Stefan, thank you for the presentation and obviously the power of solving for illiteracy. I think one of the quick questions that I have is, can you just walk me a little bit through specifically your product? More or less, I'm trying to understand specifically, what is the product offering? Is it a Kindle-like experience, or is it a library-like experience, but in a digital world?
I think they are both, Taylor. It's also, what we're promoting is the physical books. So we're trying to get books closer to the people. We have also some ebooks which are related with mandatory bibliography for students. And we also have some audiobooks, but we're trying to promote, we are not trying, we are promoting physical books. And yeah, I think you mentioned Tinder, something like that. Did I understood well?
Well, I said the public library as well as Kindle. Like
Kindle, yeah, it's not a Kindle because we don't have ebooks. Like I said, we have ebooks only those books which are related with mandatory bibliography for students. The idea is that I mean, when we're trying to put kids, we're trying to force kids to get in touch with the books, physical books, you know, and sometimes we give them a choice between reading and social media, and usually they are choosing social media. Okay, and what we did, we took the tools from the social media and we put it in a cultural platform, and to make it more fun and more attractive, using everything what you find on the social media, even though it's very nosy, and we bring back into the cultural media. And using those tools, they will find the right and the relevant books for themselves, getting back to the books and start reading and develop themselves, no matter the age.
Gotcha. Could you talk a little bit about your user growth and your go-to-market? Like, what have you guys been doing today? I saw that you guys had something around 10,000, whether it's users or downloaded apps or downloads. And can you talk about also the churn associated with that?
Yeah, we kind of trying to be honest with us, and we had an organic development, organic growth. We reach now 3,000 users. We didn't invest so much in, let's say, buying those users, because we wanted to test and see what is the attraction of the platform or the app on the market. In the past 2 years, all the money that we invested was actually in the product development and awareness. And we had also some offline events. We had some essay writing challenges. We have some Tabuk Academy, where we're trying to bring the to make people understand the power of storytelling. So this is what we did until now, was a process of awareness. And now what we're trying to do is to scale up and to accelerate a bit the attraction and the number of users. In the same time, now we're working on the marketplace, okay, and promoting those subscription-based model on the business-to-business channels. We have MRR in this moment. It's not that big, but we believe that by not the end of the year, let's say mid-June, mid-July, something like that, we reach a couple thousand euro on MRR.
Gotcha. Lastly, can you give me a little bit overview of kind of like the vision of the future that you're creating, and kind of how your product kind of, I guess, catapults that into reality?
Can you repeat the question, please?
Can you speak more about the product vision, or the vision that you have for maybe the functional literacy, and then how your product specifically adds to that vision of it to become a reality?
Our target in terms of, let's say, vision, what we imagine is that we want to reach 1 billion books uploaded on the platform, and to have 100 million users. That means each user should upload at least 10 books which are relevant for him, and that will, in a way, create his literary profile, you know. And our target is by 2029 to have an IPO, because we strongly consider that everybody should be involved in the education process. Even though it sounds utopic, we strongly believe that everybody knows that education, no matter what is the country or the continent, is a big challenge today, you know. And we think that everybody should be involved, on one hand. On the other hand, I think education in a lot of parts of the world is, let's say, on the non-profit side. And we think that moving that a bit on the for-profit side, the things will be a bit different.
Perfect. Thanks for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you, Stefan. I'll move to last but absolutely not the least founder, Frank Sondors, co-founder and CEO of Salesforge, based in Tallinn, Estonia, software development, pre-seed $500,000 in USD. How's it going, Frank?
Very good. Sorry, yeah, I was just prepping myself. Yeah, very good. A long day, and hopefully I'm gonna be able to showcase something else as well. So yeah, my name is.
Please.
Yeah. Yeah, just quick intro. So Frank Sondors, been in B2B sales for well over a decade. Worked for a bunch of B2B SaaS companies, whether that's in frontline sales or sales leadership roles as well, across multiple companies. In my last role, I led a sales team of 50. And as a result of various pains that I've observed in the leadership role, I decided to build a company called Salesforge. So Salesforge is essentially an AI co-pilot or autopilot for sales execution that we're building, something that we launched mid last year. And ultimately, the problem that we're solving for the companies is that we believe that the SDR model is broken. Essentially, companies are very heavy in terms of the headcount when it comes to SDRs. Typically, these SDRs send a lot of email templates to their prospects. A lot of these emails, because they're automated and you can see it's a template, a lot of them land in spam because users have fatigue, essentially. And as a result, because the efficiencies are relatively low, so a typical SDR books essentially less than 10 meetings per month, you end up as a VP sales hiring a lot of sales reps. So this is typically where I would have, let's say, a conversation in January with my CFO, and when we would do essentially modeling for the year, we would essentially look at how many reps we need to hit the target. And I believe that way of doing things is relatively broken. And from an organization standpoint, essentially salaries are rising. There's an inflation. There's a hire dilemma that you have as a head of sales, and also there's a problem actually with ramp up. So typically a ramp period is anywhere between 3 to 6 months until you see full execution. So what's the solution to that? So the solution essentially is building out essentially AI agents that you're able to essentially augment together with the existing sales team or fully replace the team once you're satisfied that the performance is significantly higher than what humans can deliver. So that essentially means picking out contacts against your ideal customer profile, emailing your prospects, and having essentially also infrastructure built out within the app. And additionally, also being able to call your prospects. And that's essentially means cold calling. So we believe as well in the phone channel, AI will start replacing humans. So where we are as a business, so like I mentioned, we launched mid last year. We built our initial product that helps existing SDR teams out there to drastically improve the efficiencies. We launched a product in June. We've gathered a lot of feedback in terms of where we're headed, and right now in Q4 we're launching the infrastructure component that we need to build out these agents. And in Q2 we're already looking to unlock our first agents in the email channel. The market size, it's quite humongous. So if you just look at the number of reps that just exist out there on LinkedIn, you can just calculate roughly what's the TAM. We're targeting about 5% of the SAM, specifically looking at the EMEA and the US. And we're currently targeting 1 to 50 employee segment, though we do have aspirations to go into mid-market as soon as we can to avoid the churn rates that you would typically see in SMB space. Now, the space is relatively crowded, so the two axes that we're really optimizing our product is autonomous sales execution, and coupled together with the need to solve email deliverability for good, which is another major pain that companies experience these days, because of course a rep or an AI agent can craft really great emails and deliver those to the prospect. But if those emails land in spam, then what's the point? So it's a huge problem, email in terms of email deliverability. So in the bottom right quadrant, you see essentially a couple of players that specialize in email deliverability. And in the top left quadrant, you just see companies that started to essentially spin up AI agents. But none of them actually fully focus on the two axes in terms of autonomously executing your sales motions and having a core focus around email deliverability. Now, from a business model standpoint, we're a pretty much standard SaaS, but instead of pricing per seat, we charge for consumption, and that allows us to disrupt major players in the space, like, for example, Outreach.io or SalesLoft.com, etc. So naturally, we're also dog fooding, so we're using our own software to scale, and that also allows us actually to keep the CAC relatively low, which is about $200. In terms of our traction, so we're currently at 6K MRR. Actually, we just hit a 7K MRR today. And our highest paying client is $869, and ARPA is looking also pretty solid together with NRR numbers as well. The team, it's a top 1% team that we assembled for myself. Started my career at Google and worked for an AI company also back in the days where a lot of knowledge comes and that I'm looking to ingest into Salesforge. And then Daniel was one of the key engineers at a company called Kevin that competed against Stripe. And then David worked a bunch of also other companies in the fintech space, building UIs for thousands of users. So Daniel tackles the back end and David tackles the front end and product design. Now we're raising 500K to give us 18 months runway. And we're currently looking to get to 220K MRR by the end of this year. And really, we're just looking to use the money to hire an extra headcount of 3, just to get us to essentially the deployment of private email infrastructure and sales AI agents. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Frank. Hold to Taylor.
Thanks, Frank, for the presentation. As an individual who's built sales functions, I definitely understand the pain point, specifically around email deliverability. Definitely had our domain reputation hurt multiple times throughout a number of organizations I've been a part of. So I guess tapping a little bit back into, you mentioned one of the problems that you're solving for is around fatigue, right? Everyone, as you know, like receives hundreds of different emails. Some are personalized, some are unpersonalized. They're all from john@company.com, right? How is creating an agent, which more or less can put your SDR team, if you're one person, you could have 500 SDRs on SuperDrive, gonna stop the fatigue from the sales process? My assumption is that it would actually increase the fatigue in that you would not only get more emails from more companies, but then you'd also get cold calls, LinkedIn messages, you name it, right? So I guess, can you explain a little bit about how you view whether it's the SDR co-pilot moving forward and kind of how your team is solving for that or improving for the, it sounds like more or less, I hear a lot of companies saying co-pilot, automate the SDR process, but all you're saying is just you're taking more swings at bat, right? How many emails can you deliver? So yeah, I'd love for just an overview of how you view that.
Yeah, so it's not about delivering more emails, but it's about sending better emails. So we believe in the concept that we call programmatic sequencing, programmatically assembling unique emails to each and every prospect. And the logic that we use is what we call the matching logic. Essentially, we look at what do you sell as a business. So you have to provide some input data right now into the software. And we crawl the web about every single prospect. So we check what do we know about you based off your LinkedIn profile. We crawl the site of the company, and we're looking also to tap into CRM data and also a bunch of other data sources. So we essentially then, for every single prospect, we know what you sell. We know a few things about you as a prospect, which is what typically an SDR does. And then we apply LLMs on those 2 data sets to craft a unique email copy in any language using different tones, etc. So that's the programmatic experience that we deliver essentially to prospects. Now, it is designed that it can be scaled. However, it's not about essentially sending a limited number of emails. It's just about sending better emails. And then also using the same platform to also seamlessly also respond to any objections that the prospect has. So that's what we do. So, and the goal, the macro conversion where we stop as a platform is essentially typically it's a meeting booked or rather attended for the companies. And that's, where we are looking to stop as a platform, really. The main problem that we're looking to solve for businesses is pipeline coverage. It's typically the biggest pain that any business has. So we see a huge opportunity, and we also see a huge potential for disruption versus the current stuff that exists in the market, which does not really tackle deliverability. It has some AI capabilities, but I think the approach that some of the companies are taking in the top left quadrant when it comes to AI, they do AI only. Or we believe that a VP sales, alongside running their SDR team, should be able to quickly spin up essentially AI agents within 10 minutes, which is the reason why we need infrastructure and the sequencing and many other things. And then if the VP sales sees that they're seeing significantly better performance with the agents than what they're seeing with the human-led sales team, I do believe then some companies, not all, will start transitioning to full-on AI agents. Typically in high-velocity sales, specific markets like US, UK, etc. However, I don't believe that AI agents will be a big thing, let's say, in enterprise sales.
Gotcha. I know we're coming up on time, but my last question, it talks a little bit about what your previous point was.
Hello. If you want, you can have another 2-3 questions, because so we can. It's fair to have the same number of questions.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
No problem. We can go above 1 hour. It's fine.
Okay. Yeah. So maybe I'll just go 2 quick ones. One is around like the competitive landscape, right? Like there's a lot of companies that already have this proprietary data set to build the most engaging email, that have the highest open rates, et cetera, things like that. And then a lot of companies are fighting for that, right? They're fighting for so for example, why Salesforce, HubSpot, Apollo, Outreach, all the companies that you know, right? What are you doing to more or less achieve market share from these companies, given that they already have the data set and infrastructure? Like, I guess, what is your competitive advantage starting early versus these companies that have been around for a while and already have the existing user base?
Yeah, so I'll give you a very straightforward example. If somebody currently runs any email campaigns out of HubSpot, they're currently seeing below 30% open rates with those campaigns. And if you run a campaign within Salesforce, you're typically seeing 50 to 80%. Now, I don't believe that these, let's call it major CRM players or anybody else, will suddenly start heavily focused on deliverability. So I do believe that typically on the top of a CRM, you have a sales engagement platform, so execution layer, whether that's us or somebody else. However, other companies may be focusing more on integrations or other aspects, which I believe are less relevant. But the biggest pains that companies of VP sales having these days are typically email deliverability, where email campaigns are just broken. They just barely work, and they're looking for a solution. This is where they say cold email is dead. It's not dead. It just became a lot more difficult over the last few years because there's more emails being sent, billions and billions of emails. There's more cybersecurity threats. So naturally, the response from Gmail and Outlook is to filter a lot of that. So you have to build what I call a new gen software that really tackles this huge problem and still ensure that they're able to deliver these great emails. And because still, if you sort of do channel comparison, so which is your most sort of CAC efficient channel, you will see that definitely cold email is your most CAC efficient channel.
100. Yeah. I mean, I think, the other area, again, trying to provide value, that is a part of sequences. It's around sending with the cold email, then following that is the LinkedIn outreach, and then following that is a follow-up email, following that is if they connect with you, then to do the LinkedIn outreach. And so all I'm waiting for is just one platform to do it all. Hopefully you can do that. But yeah, I like your approach to the email deliverability problem, because it's not talked about at all, right? And you only run into it until all of a sudden you're caught in spam and you can't send emails to your product team because they're all going to spam, and here's what happens. And yeah, it's an absolute pain. And there's service industries that charge a boatload of money to repair your domain too, which is also ridiculous. My last question is around your revenue growth targets. They seem kind of crazy, transparently, from 6K to 120K MRR in a year. I mean, if you're able to achieve that would be phenomenal. But I guess, what is your thoughts outside of the product is the best product in the market, and therefore that's what ultimately would drive that revenue? But yeah, I guess kind of what were your assumptions in driving that revenue growth, especially in a year in the development of the product?
Good question. So currently, actually, we're selling 2 products in total. So we're sending the execution platform, which is currently just designed for SDRs. Right now, we're about to release next week a second product called MailForge. MailForge enables you to spin up infrastructure and mailboxes. So that's our second vehicle. So we already have 20 early adopters on that, paying clients, actually paying us money. We're essentially displacing Gmail and Outlook because we don't believe the companies long-term will be using Gmail Outlook to run their cold emails. So we have essentially provide a dedicated email infrastructure for the SDR teams, or essentially sales teams. And this is the infrastructure that will be powering AI agents. Because as I mentioned to you in Q2, we're looking then to suddenly start offering AI agents as an autonomous capability. And that's a third revenue stream that we're looking to unlock. So these are the 3 main revenue streams. And our acquisition, because the CAC is relatively low, because we use our own software to scale, it allows us to be very lean and mean in terms of acquiring a lot more clients. And speaking to a lot of CFOs and VP sales, I do believe this is the future. as in dedicated infrastructure, moving away from Gmail and Outlook because they're introducing new restrictions. So, for example, new restrictions coming by Gmail already in February. These will need to be tackled in one way or the other. We believe that the long-term solution that companies will endorse will be their own dedicated infrastructure, which means not actually being on Gmail and Outlook as the two main ESPs in B2B.
Yeah, no, super interesting approach. My last piece of maybe recommendation would be to include the information about MailForge and how you're using MailForge as the wedge into your presentation, because I think that's an interesting approach.
Thanks. That's good. That's great.
Cool.
Yeah. Thanks.
Awesome. Thanks, Frank.
Thank you. Thank you, Frank. Frank, stay. Don't go. We're bringing right now back all the other founders. I'm starting from you. So in 20 seconds, convincing Taylor to invest in your startup. What would you like to say to all the investors watching today?
I ask me the question?
Yeah. 20 seconds, elevator pitch, convincing Taylor, all the investors watching today, why investing in you, your team, and your startup?
First of all, founder market fit, being in B2B sales for over a decade, all the way from frontline sales to VP sales of a sales team of 50. And right now, as my next step in my career, is actually building a sales execution platform for my former self, VP sales, that I wish there was. That's pretty much the reason why I would say you should invest in me. Because at this stage of the investment, what matters is the founding team.
Thank you so much, Frank. Chris, same to you.
Obviously, I also say we have a great team with my co-founder Kelly, over 30 years in video games, and me as a serial founder. But I think the most important part is that we see that retail and fashion is just not doing right in virtual environments. And with an increasing amount of time spent in virtual environments, that's an untapped market that we have to tackle, and Naked as the solution for it.
Thank you, Chris. Yakov. You had to unmute yourself. You're muted.
Sorry. Yeah. So AI personal assistants, the future. They probably will replace Google Chrome as it now as the first contact with person with the internet world. So we definitely will be part of it by allowing people to learn and continuous learning over the years after the university. So we are will be great personal assistant for people and their entrance into the internet. So
thank you, Yakov. Stefan, please.
There are a lot of reasons why should investors join our project, and I will not mention functional illiteracy or, let's say, an utopic reason. Yet we had industrial revolution, we had AI revolution, we had a lot of revolution, and we strongly believe that the next revolution is human-based revolution and is related with emotions and with communication. And the only thing that you master those things is by knowing yourself and being able to communicate in a proper way and to write in a proper way and to generate creative ideas. And the only thing by doing that is reading. So being part of this project, I think, should be on every investor agenda. First page.
Thank you, Stefan. Taylor, before we close, I don't know if you want to give any feedback, general feedback to our founders.
I would just say great job, everyone, on the presentation. I think one of the things I always appreciate is speaking with very knowledgeable, very impactful founders. The one thing I always like to leave with is that as individuals who have been founders before, know that this is a journey, right? And it's a roller coaster ride, and to enjoy the roller coaster, whether it's the highs or the lows, the ups and the downs. But at the end of the day, the journey is kind of what the goal and the destination is. And so as long as you continue to get on to the roller coaster every single day and continue pushing forward. You'll, from my perspective, always live a really fruitful life and enjoy what you're doing every day. So thank you guys for your time. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Tyler.
Very much, Taylor. Thank you. Taylor, Frank, Chris, Yakov, and Stefan, thank you so much for coming, spending 1 hour and 5 minutes with us today. I'm very glad, I'm very happy. And I hope everyone enjoyed our pitch event, as you want to call. And now, as I always like to close, we don't charge anything to our funders for coming here and for getting funded. So as you can see, we give you all the information about them. You can get in touch with them directly. Going to our YouTube channel, watching again the event and contacting them. If you want to come to us, to EquityMatch, absolutely. You just send a message to an email to contact@equitymatch.co. We are more than happy to make a warm introduction to them. Again, thank you to everyone, to all of you guys for coming. Taylor, Frank, Stefan, Yakov, and Chris, to all watching us today. And I see you on Thursday. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Bye.